The opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cable 14, its sponsors, or its shareholders, Cogeco Cable, Shaw Cable, and Source Cable Limited.
Welcome to the October 4th edition of the Opinionators. I am Larry Deani, and the Opinionators, of course, is an opinion program based on political philosophies and ideology by a panel of experts who represent the three main political parties. And let's meet them right now. We have Tara Crugnale. Welcome, Tara, representing the Conservative Party.
Hi there, Larry.
And officially, you said last time.
Officially.
Ron Corsini in the center, representing the Liberal Party. Hi, Ron.
Great to be here again.
And of course, Alex Johnstone of the NDP. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Larry. I'm very excited for Thanksgiving dinner this weekend.
Well, it is Thanksgiving dinner, and all of us are excited about that. But right now, we're excited about some of the topics because we've got some good ones that we've selected. And the very first one, actually, is for you, Tara, and it has to do with Omar Khadr. As we know, Omar Khadr was in U.S. detention at Guantanamo for many, many years. He's a Canadian citizen, was born in this country, but the Canadian government refused to take him back even though the Americans wanted him repatriated. And of course, there's a huge debate as to whether he was a child soldier manipulated or in fact a terrorist that pleaded guilty to having killed an American soldier. So whether you believe one or the other of those, the fact of the matter, Tara, is that he's back here now. He's our problem. What do we do with him?
Well, the Conservative government definitely fought it tooth and nail. We did not want this gentleman back on our soil just because he was born in Canada. I get that he's Canadian, but I would have preferred for him to stay in detention in the States or in Guantanamo Bay for a much longer time. I don't think that he was a child soldier. He was 15 going on 16. He was just a few weeks away from his birthday when he killed that American medic. Now, even the UN says that child soldiers are under the age of 14. And in Canada, we try people at the age of 15 for murder. So I don't buy the child soldier argument. He knew what he was doing, and I think he's already been radicalized, and he's no good for Canada.
Alex, what do you think? Your party, certainly at the federal level, fought very hard to treat him as a Canadian.
I'm just wonder, Tara, do we deport people? Do we get rid of them if they don't meet Harper's standard of Canadian? There's so many questions about this case. Certainly, when he was tried and when he confessed, there was torture involved. There's questions about the legitimacy of his confession. And he also turned around and said later that he was under enormous pressure and know that that wasn't true. In terms of him actually killing the medic, it's pretty hard when you're under slabs of wall. They actually had to dig him out. So how was he able to throw the grenade? I know that Amnesty International questions, this case and stands by Omar's innocence. This was a child who was taken from Canada at 12 years old. He was told
by his terrorist father.
By his father, who enrolled him into, a terrorist camp. That said, how much responsibility can a 12-year-old take? And it's also, as I highlighted earlier, it is questionable whether he was even the one that threw the grenade. I think that, he just became Harper's terrorist poster child.
His entire family,
This was a scapegoat.
Alex.
This was a scapegoat. This was about Harper, getting tough on terrorism. Really, he was getting tough on a young man. And unfortunately, we have destroyed this young man's life.
Well, let's give Ron a chance.
This individual has been in the news for a long time, ever since the 9/11 and the U.S.'s involvement in Afghanistan, and this is where they happened to capture him during the U.S. invasion. I don't know. I mean, he was tried in a military court at Gitmo Bay in Cuba, and a lot of the evidence that was brought out against him couldn't be used if he was tried on mainland in the States. So was he brainwashed? I'm sure he was when his father, who's a known terrorist, when his father was a known terrorist, took him and enrolled him at 12 years old. And these people brainwash people to commit, suicide to become a suicide bomber and kill innocent people all over the place. But I think as a Canadian, and he was a Canadian citizen, I think it's our responsibility to get him back here, to find the truth wherever possible, and come to some sort of conclusion.
And does anybody in this room remember his mother on Canadian television practically spitting on our flag and saying what a terrible country Canada was?
But that's the freedom that we have in Canada.
No, you know what? I would deport all of them. I'm sorry.
Well, you can't deport somebody just for spitting on the flag.
Well, no, I think that that everything about that family is wrong. They, generated terrorists. They sent them around the world.
How did they get
and
into Canada?
And now we have to take
Canada,
them back.
we are supposed
and they're
to
going to be
protect
using
our
our
children.
social services and our healthcare system
where were
and
we for
hating
Omar?
us the entire time.
Where were we for Omar when he was being raised in a family of hate? Where were we?
Oh, probably our Canadian values say that we can't get involved.
All right, listen.
No,
You've just opened up a whole new can of worms, and we need to move to the next topic. But I agree with you that the mother doesn't do Omar any favors, that's for sure.
No, and neither is Harper. It was irresponsible.
Oh,
all right, so listen, let's go to the next topic. And this one's yours, and we're going to bring down to the provincial level. And it has to do with the wage freeze that McGuinty is now promising across the public service that they have jurisdiction over, the provincial public service. Mr. Hudak has said that he's not going to support that because it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't include municipalities, it doesn't include firefighters and the police, and it doesn't have the kind of teeth that he wants to see imposed. So the public service is going to be mad at Hudak, probably, and certainly at McGuinty. Does that mean that Andrea gains?
Well, I'm certainly happy that McGuinty isn't making cuts to our essential services, such as police, firefighters. Those budgets are already short as is, and they find it difficult to operate within those. Hudak says that he's concerned about public safety, yet the first thing he wants to do is slash those budgets and cut back on wages.
It's called fairness, Alex.
No, it's. I think that I'm very much concerned. You start attacking the middle class, you can only keep cutting from it, and then it disappears. And if we're looking at, we want to stimulate this economy by cutting out the only stable jobs, the only people who are spending in the real economy, then how are people supposed to be purchasing goods if they don't have money to do so?
So I think I heard a bit of an opening for the Liberal Party, maybe with the NDP, to work out something there if the Conservatives don't support it. Although asking them to freeze any wages is probably
I don't know that the NDP would support that.
I don't think that they would.
So Ron,
either.
but why doesn't Mr. McGuinty go further and try to get the Tory support?
I think he's just trying to concentrate right now on provincial civil servants, and the police and firefighters are the responsibility of municipalities. And I think Mr. Hudak is playing political games with the whole government and all the cutbacks. These are all political games that he's playing with you and with me and with
Ron, your party is going to bankrupt Ontario in no time. We're already so billions of dollars in debt.
We have to cut some debt, and everyone has to make a sacrifice.
Then why not the municipalities? Why can't you bring the police and other services into it? No, guess what? Municipalities are being strangled by the high costs of police services, of fire departments. They have asked Dalton McGuinty personally to get involved in this because they can't cut it themselves. Where's the extra money going to come from? To pay for it? From us at the municipal level. From the municipal level, again, you want to tax me here again?
No, it's not extra money.
What's going
They're
to happen.
Just looking to keep it the way it is.
If you want to keep
it
fair, and that's why we are not supporting it as Conservatives, because if you want to keep it fair, put the cuts and austerity measures across the board. That's not playing around. That's being fair.
All you
know what, Ron?
Just cut
if you want teachers, Ron, listen to me for 1 second. If you want teachers to take over these
you're talking
austerity
over
measures,
each other. Tara's got the floor.
If you want teachers to accept these austerity measures. If you want other public servants to go with these austerity measures, why are you going to say that other people don't have to do it? You know what? They cannot be sacred cows anymore.
But
Cuts have
Tara,
to come across the
how
board.
do you answer this question, though, which has been raised, that because the province doesn't have jurisdiction over firefighters and over policemen, the municipality does, although the municipality might welcome the cap to relieve their pressures, it wouldn't stand the court test, would it? How do you answer that?
I believe that it has to. At one point or another, it has to. Because we're just going to go bankrupt if we don't start, cutting. Or not even, we talk about cutting, but we have to.
So Hudak's in favor of an Orarian government. He's, his own dictatorship. He just wants to go in.
I don't think so, Alex.
If Hudak was premier, he would be the law.
What he would do, he would cut toilet paper out of toilets. Yeah. Everyone would have to bring their own.
We wouldn't even have a legal system. What would the point be? It would just be,
All right. Listen, the moment that we make a scatological remark about toilets, it's time to move to another topic.
Sure, go ahead.
And Ron, this is for you. And it has to do with the horse racing industry, or perhaps the death of the horse racing industry here in Ontario. As you know, the government has said that they, because of the austerity, are not going to support the industry with $340 million every year. And although the councillors in Hamilton are fixated a little bit now on the casino question, the municipality is, what's happening to the horse racing industry? Mr. McMeekin, the agriculture minister, has a blue ribbon committee looking at how to fund it and save it. Is it worth saving?
Do we have to fund it, or do the people that participate in the sport fund it on their own? I mean, we have been putting money into the horse racing industry for a long time by subsidizing the purses at the races. They have to do this on their own. Horse racing, I believe, in Ontario has just been going downhill. And that's partly because of the gambling in casinos, that people prefer to play a slot machine than watch a horse race run around a track. For $2, I would prefer to watch a horse race. But if you go out to Flamborough, you don't find people spending money at the track. It's just a sport that I feel is losing interest right across the board.
I'm sorry.
So go ahead, Alex.
It's what Ron is saying, that horse racing is going down. It's just not making enough profit for the province. It's still bringing in millions of dollars each year. But it's just not bringing in enough profit. And the reason that horse racing can't compete against, little dinky slot machines is that it's so much quicker, the gambling. It's so much more addicting at the slot machine. I would much rather, be in support of horse racing if we're going to choose one for our community, because it is slower and it gives people that time to think about it and not to. They're not going to dwindle all of their savings, on the spot. Whereas in slot machines, you're going, right up to the ATMs, pulling out, thousands and thousands of dollars, but not to the same extent. There is a pause in there where you are thinking about it.
And aside from that, and Ron, I would find it offensive if I were involved in the horse racing industry to hear you say, oh, it's just $2 to watch a horse run around the track. The industry is so much more than that. We have the breeding of horses. We have the sales of tractors, grazing lands. You have 60,000 people in Ontario supported, employed by this industry. You're going to be killing off horses for glue just because you don't feel like watching a horse run around a track.
Just because it's not making enough.
And you know what?
The
taxpayer is supporting everything. The taxpayer even supports the OLG's stupid advertisements everywhere. I don't know why they have to advertise that much. It's coming out of the profits. So is the money going to the horse industry. It's coming from the revenue sharing. It's not like my tax dollars are going to support the horse industry. It is the money that people are spending at the casinos that is being generated and put through the horse industry.
And I think, what's most concerning is if you look at studies, when you have a casino downtown, is it ends up sucking out local revenue. So money that people normally would have been spending on, local goods and services, they're no longer doing that. And you're putting it right downtown. Let's keep our horse racing.
You know what? Let's go back to the horses, though, for a second, Ron.
Keep the horse racing and no casino.
People that go to a racetrack. does every person that go to a racetrack, are they there because they're going there, then they shouldn't be going there?
You know what, Ron? I'm not talking about that for a second. We have to look at our local situation. The loss of Flamborough Downs, I think, will be catastrophic to Hamilton. I also think that Ted McMeekin
on this.
Well, Ted McMeekin is trying to do something. He is on this blue ribbon committee because I think it's going to be his head on a platter.
Yeah, I guess
his riding. If Flamborough Downs goes, but at the same time,
shows how much support he has from his government.
The horse racing industry really has to put their cards on the table and their money down and take out way more ads and become way more vocal in their support for either another candidate or to vocalize to Ted that he needs to get this done because
as was said,
they're working on that.
As was said, Ted McMeekin has struck an all-party committee and a blue ribbon committee, but he has to present it, and if it costs more, he's going to have some challenges.
And if Dalton wants to keep that one seat,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what party you're from.
Cited for contempt.
Dalton's just not interested in Hamilton.
Okay.
All right. On that note, we're going to go to the lightning round, but you snuck that in. And the very first one, remember lightning round, you get 30 seconds, and it's Ron, Tara, and Alex for each of the topics. And this one is hot off the press. It just came in this afternoon. And it's an announcement made by actually Dalton McGuinty and Ted McMeekin to encourage people to buy local food, local production. And the Premier and the Agriculture Minister indicated that if families shifted only $10 of their food budget, their weekly food budget, to locally produced food, locally grown food, that would create 10,000 jobs and generate sales of $2.4 billion locally. Ron, that sounds like a good deal, doesn't it?
It's a no-brainer. I mean, why wouldn't we want to support our local farmers and local businesses also? Support your business and farmer right here outside your doorstep. This is money that is going to be staying within our community and not be going down to the U.S. To some farming conglomerate down there. Keep it here.
Tara.
The entire notion of the announcement kind of confuses me. I don't know where the incentive is for people to go out of their way to shop locally. They shop at their local grocer and pick up whatever is already available there. I think it would have had more meat to it if they had said that they were going to create a subsidy for farmers or for different people in the area to create that local food or local farmers markets.
Yeah, where's the carrot?
Locally grown, hopefully.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think that this is certainly something that I support, and I'm sure the NDP is in favor of it. That said, there is no carrots. The NDP, last year was pushing for a Buy Local Act that would have forced provincial government to purchase, have 20% of our food purchases be from local farmers, and Liberals stalled on that. So my question is why is it that Dalton can stall on initiatives that would force him to put 20%?
Good. All right. But you like the idea, though.
Is good.
Ron, this one back to you. And it has to do with the contempt motion that's circulating around Queen's Park because of the cancelled power plants. Minister Bentley, who happens to be the energy minister, is being cited for contempt because he didn't release documents quickly enough or when he was asked to. Even though he did under the deadline that was imposed by the Speaker, there still is this motion of contempt that now has gone to a special committee. So is this justified by the opposition parties, or is this politics as usual?
This is absolutely politics as usual. Here we have the opposition parties just trying to stir up some sort of going on at Queen's Park. You know what? Every single government that's been in office in Ontario has cancelled projects and have cost us money. He admitted that this was a very expensive
election promise.
It wasn't. You know what? And it wasn't for those two seats. He followed the will of the people. That's why
he could have followed the will of their
canceled.
people 6
All right,
years ago.
Tara?
I think that it is necessary to hold somebody to account for these measures. And aside from that as well, you know what it is? It is going to be about the NDP and the Conservatives kind of showing their strength, because we do have more seats than the Liberals in the House, and we might as well give it to them every once in a while.
All right, she admitted that. Go ahead.
Yep, it's you don't have a majority government, and you have to work with well, Ontario didn't want to give it to you, otherwise you would have had a majority in the last 2 by-elections. I think that you need to be working with the other 2 parties, and we want the truth. And there's many questions about whether all of the documents were released, as it doesn't. And I know that the Conservatives and the NDP have gone through them. It seems like a lot of information's missing.
All right. And this one, Ron, back to you, has to do with the UN, and Minister Baird, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for our country, went in replacement of the Prime Minister, who didn't deign himself to go. And he delivered a speech to the UN when all the other leaders were there, and he chastised the UN for being too inward-looking, for navel-gazing, for not dealing with important issues like Iran and Syria. This was a real dressing down. Do you think that Canadians side with Mr. Baird?
Yes, absolutely. I did when I heard his address to the UN. Unfortunately, there were a lot of members were not in their seats while this speech was going on. The UN has not done its fair part in dealing with problems like Syria and the atrocities that are going on around the world. It was unfortunate that the Prime Minister couldn't do and deliver that speech himself rather than send one of his ministers.
I think it's refreshing to hear from the Liberal perspective on this, because obviously this is something that the Conservatives have felt for a long time, and eventually somebody had to say it. Should it have been the Prime Minister? Perhaps not. I think that it was better for someone else, John Baird, to go and kind of dress down the UN. Was everyone in their seats? No, but the message has certainly rung true across the board. And why don't they do enough? Because they don't want to upset Russia or another country, and so that's why they don't get involved in things they should get involved in. So then what's the point of having an organization like the UN?
Let's keep this in the United States, and let's talk about American politics in this last... Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my gosh. I want your perspective on this.
With me anyway.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, partly. I did agree with a number of things that Harper was saying in terms of that we do need to get tough on some of the serious human rights violations going on around the world. That said, it was a bit of the pot calling the kettle black. You know, where is Harper? He has all kinds of trade going on with China. They have numerous human rights violations. He needs to, I guess, stay true to his own word, and he should have been there delivering the message.
All right. We saved the best for last. I apologize for the seniors moment, all right? But let's go to the American election now, Ron, and it has to do with the debate last night between Governor Romney and President Obama. What was your take on it?
Well, I didn't watch the whole debate. I picked up bits and pieces of it. I was disappointed with Obama. I thought that he would have come out fighting, and being a little more aggressive. Instead, Mitt was rather a lot more aggressive than Obama. One little thing that he did come out and say, something about Mitt Romney said about in dealing with an environmental issue, was clean coal.
I know.
I don't understand what clean coal is.
Is that something?
All right. Now that's a good
new
topic. Hang on. On the debate, though. On the debate, Tara, how did you think?
There's going to be more debates.
I've heard of clean coal. I agree with it too. It was interesting before the debate happened how both sides were trying to play down their candidates, what their candidates would do and their expectations. Oh, Obama hasn't done this in 4 years. Oh, Mitt's never done this before. So it's always interesting how that works. But I do think that Mitt came out on top. He needed to, because he is down in the polls. How it will play out for the rest of the election, who knows? I do think, though, that it's going to go Democratic again.
Interesting.
Wow.
I'm not sure about what that Big Bird comment was all about. I don't know what it is with Romney's campaign, but Invisible Obama and the empty chair, Big Bird, it just all kinds of just awkward.
Those are the zingers.
Did he go to Hudak for advice? Because seems like a Hudak campaign.
Who won the debate?
I think that Romney did. Obama wasn't on his game. Obama did have all the swing seats were in his favor going in to the debate. Afterwards, that was questionable. We'll see in the weeks to come.
Okay, we're going to have to stop there. Very last topic, and I want to introduce what the headline that was in The Spectator just the other day that shocked me, and that is the Pan Am Stadium debate 2.0 is rearing its ugly head again, a debate that divided this community. And whether you agree with Councillor Ferguson, who's a very thoughtful councillor, very highly respected, whether you agree with him or not as to whether we should try to recite this stadium, do you think that we can afford, Ron, to reopen the wounds again?
No, I don't think we can, although I agree with Ferguson, but I think his comments come out too late in the game. This should have been settled years ago, and now we're going to get a Deuce Stadium, a much smaller one, and it's in the wrong place. Well,
I mean, Councillor Ferguson is absolutely right. I do question why he's bringing this up now. Yeah. Really, redressing Ivor Wynne is putting lipstick on a pig. We're not getting anything out of this. It's one of the silliest things I think that Hamilton Council has ever done. And I guess Councillor Ferguson doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, but you are.
I think it's a brand new pig, though, not just lipstick.
I have to agree with both Ron and Tara. I think that at this stage it is really too late, and certainly I don't want it going back into council's hands. It's they seem to destroy a lot of projects that they put their hands on, and I think that that's because they don't have a unified vision. They act in their own little fiefdoms, and that's the problem.
We're going to have to stop there because we're out of time. Thank you, panel, and thank you, viewers, for watching. This has been the Opinionators for October the 4th. We'll see you in a week's time, October 11th, when we'll reconvene again to talk about all the hot issues of the day.
Tara Crugnale's Hair by Ludi Mamoda Hair and Aesthetic Studio, 169 James Street North in downtown Hamilton.